to say what table we want to pull that information from. And there you can see it's kind of messy again. If I shrink it down now, you're going to see all the student information entered in there. I'm going to have to shrink it down quite a bit just to be able to fit it all in there, but you can see the first name, last name, email, street, city, state, zip, phone numbers, birth date, sex, date entered, and you can also see how those are changing and exactly what the timestamp looks like, lunch cost, and the student ID, and you can see those auto-incremented. Okay, the next table we're going to create is going to be class, which is going to have a class ID for each of the possible classes. As you saw right here, we had science. We're also going to have English and a whole bunch of other different things. And then this class ID is going to be put inside of the test area, and that's how we're going to be able to keep track of everything. I'm going to keep everything normalized, like I said before, or atomic, by separating out everything that doesn't need to be there. And we're going to have class be in its own table because there's no need to type in science multiple different times here or English or whatever inside of the test area. So to create this table, we're going to go create table, and we're going to call it class, just like we defined there. And each of these is going to have a name, and I'm going to say variable number of characters no longer than 30, and not null, of course. We want to make sure we have something in each one of those. And then we're going to need a primary key for this, unsigned, not null, just like before. Auto increment, so we don't need to worry about it. Primary key, of course. Close that off. And show tables, you can see class was created. Then I can just paste this in here, another insert, save myself some time. You can see English and all those other different things, and null again is going to allow this to auto increment. And there you can see that's been created. And if I want to see everything, select again, star for everything from class, and there you can see they're all listed. If I want to create my test table, create table, test. Inside of that, for each of these tests, we're going to have a date and date type, of course. And not null. Remember, we had an enumerated type that was either a test or a quiz, so we're going to create that. Not null again. Class ID is going to link out to the table that we just created here. And like I said before, this is called a foreign key, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And then test ID, which is going to be the primary key for this guy. Again, int, unsigned, not null. And every primary key is going to look like this. Primary key. Boom. And you can, of course, use lowercase letters, and there you can see all of those are created. Now, as I said a second ago, a class ID, like we created in the test table, is known as a foreign key. And what they're used to do is make references to primary keys of other tables. So, class ID inside of the test table is a foreign key that references a primary key over in the class table. And to give you another example, let's say we had a customer and a city table. If the city table had a column which listed the unique primary keys for all the different customers, that primary key listing in the city table would be considered a foreign key, or just like you saw previously with the test and the classes. Now, the foreign key can have a different name from the primary key, but very often it makes sense to keep them the same. The value of a foreign key can have a value of null. However, that wouldn't be advantageous most of the time, but it's possible, most definitely. And a foreign key does not need to be unique. But that's quite obvious because we could have multiple different people in a science class taking a test. So you would have science numerous different times inside of there to represent the foreign key. And of course, they wouldn't be unique. Back over in MySql, and now let's create our score table. Create table, score, student ID, int, unsigned, not null, event ID, which is going to represent the test that was taken. And I'm going to go back in here as I show you other different things and change names and so forth inside of these. We're going to have our score, which is going to be an int because these are all small numbers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the event and student ID to make sure that we don't have duplications in regards to scores. And it's also going to make it quite easy to change scores later on. So I'm going to create a primary key, and if I want to use the event ID and the student ID to make sure they're unique, that's exactly how you do that. And there, that's created. And once again, the reason why we're combining the event ID and the student ID is because in the scores table, we're going to have multiple different tests that are going to be taken by each of the different students, so that's not unique. And also the student IDs, because they're going to be taking multiple tests, are also not going to be unique. However, if we combine the two of them together, that is going to be unique. Last table we want to create here is the absence table, which we're going to use to make sure that the students are going to be able to take tests that they miss. list, and it's going to have a student ID inside of it. It's going to be unsigned, not null. It's going to have the date of the absence, date data type, not null again. And once again, we're going to create a primary key that is going to combine the student ID, because students could have multiple absences, so we have to figure that out. And date, since they can only miss one date, there we go. Now we have a unique primary key. And there you can see all those are created. Now, if we want to come in here to the test area and describe that. Now, let's say that we wanted to have multiple different types of quizzes, multiple different types of tests, meaning that there would be different types of, and different numbers of questions inside of them. How exactly would we go in here and add in a new row that's going to have the maximum score for each of these tests and quizzes? Well, we're going to go in here and we're going to type in alter table. The one we want to alter is called test. And then if we want to add a new row of data inside of this, we're going to go add. And let's say that I want this to be called max score. And then I'm going to define the data types, not null. And if I also want to put it after type, for example, to keep it away from the different keys, I can type in after type. And there you go. And if we go describe test, you're going to see max scores in there. Another way to enter data inside of these, let's say I want to add in some test data. Well, let's go and put that on the screen so we can see exactly what's going on here. We can also go insert into test and values. And then we can put all this in here at one time. So let's say that the test is in 2014, 8, 25, and it's a quiz. And the maximum score is 15, and the class ID in this situation is going to be the first, and then we're going to make sure you put a comma in there, and then you're going to put null, and then you're going to put a comma after that, and then put in all that other additional data, and there you go. That's how you would be able to enter all of those different types of data all in one query inside of MySQL. And then we can of course see all of them, select from test, and there you can see them all in one place. Now, how exactly would you go in here and change the name for a row? So let's say we go into, we want to see what's in score, and we decide that event ID doesn't really make any sense, and we would prefer to have test ID inside of there. How do we go in and change that? You're going to go alter again. As you're going to see, use the same commands over and over again. And then you're going to type in score, which is the table you want to change, and then you're going to type in change. And if you want to change event ID to test ID instead, you're then going to have to define the data type for our new test ID, unsigned and not null. You're then going to be able to go describe score and see that it's been changed from event ID to test ID. I'm then going to enter in all my score data, and you can see right here where I commented this one line. This is how you put a single line comment inside of your queries. You can see here insert into score values, and I have all that there just to save time, and you can see that I updated that. If I also want to come in here and put some data in the absence, there you can see that. And it's often a good idea to use describe to be able to see exactly the order you should put your data in. And you can see there I'm using an insert command again, and there are all of my absences for all the different students, or you can see right there. Now, to list all of this data out, you're not always going to use the star command, which is going to list out everything. So let's say with the student database, I just want first name, and you could also come in here, nothing's case sensitive, so you could go first name or last name, whatever you want. Then you just come in just like before and go student. And that's going to list out all of our student names. You can also see here, however, that whatever you type in here for first name is going to show up there and last name there. We're going to correct that in a moment. Now, another thing that's sort of bothering me about this is if we show our tables, you're going to see everything here is absence, class, score, student, and tests. Well, I kind of would prefer these to be plural. So that's going to mean I need to go in and rename my table. And I'm going to rename all of them instead of just some of them. So we're going to go into absence, and I could just do one, or I could do multiple ones. And we're going to change this to absences, class to classes, score to scores, and then test to tests. And if we then come in here, show tables, you're going to see all of those are plural now. So let's go in and let's say that we just want to be able to select the first name, last name, and the state from our students database, from students. And this is where comes in. Where is used when you want to limit your data. So I'm going to type in state, and let's say I just want all students that are from Washington. And there you go. And we could also do more than that, way more than that. Say I want to get first name, last name, and birth date from students. And if I just want the people that are born after 1965, I can specifically get just the year from the date of birth part. And I just type in birth date and greater than or equal to 1965. And there you can see that data. And of course, you're going to be able to compare all of these using equals to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. I could also go in there and get the month. So I'll get first name, last name, and birth date from students, and it doesn't matter that the from has a lowercase m. And let's say where, and if I want to just get the month, like say we're looking for birth dates or something for the month, I don't know. Just type in month, birth date is equal to 2, or another thing we can use is an or statement to put in multiple conditions. Or state is equal to California. So this is going to match if they were born in February or they were born in the state of California. And there you can see. And you're going to be able to combine these conditions either using or, as you just saw, and another guy you can use is not. And instead of or, if you wanted to put in here 2 of those guys, or for and you want to put in and, you could do that. And for not, another replacement for that is an exclamation mark, which I'm going to show you here in examples. And let's make another query here that's a little bit more complicated that uses those logical operators I just showed you. So let's go last name, state, birth date from students again. And let's say we want all the students that have a birthday that is greater than or equal to 12. And we could put and inside of there, or we could put and inside of there like that. Put brackets here if we want to combine these guys, or they're born in the state of California, or put that in there, or put or, doesn't matter. I'm going to put that just to show you they're the same. Their state they were born in was Nevada. And there you can see all those matches. Another weird guy is null. If you want to check if a value is null, you cannot use the greater than or equal to or any of those different things. What you have to use is either is not null or is null. And select, so let's say last name from students. And if we wanted to check if a last name was not entered at all, we would go, is it null? And that would list every single last name student that didn't have a value in there. Or we would come in and go, is not null. And if we go, is not null, it's going to list all of them because all of them have last names. Another thing we can do is decide how our data is going to be ordered inside of MySQL. So let's say first and last names from the students table. We want to order them by last name. There you can see all of them are in alphabetical order now. And if you wanted to put them in reverse alphabetical order, you would just type in order by, and whatever your column name is, followed by DSC. That's going to be reverse alphabetical order. You could also combine those. Let's say you want first, last name, and state from students. And the most important thing is to order by state. And let's just do it in descending order. And secondly, you wanted last name in alphabetical order, which is ASC. And there you can see they went and had all the states put in the order, but it made sure that this was in alphabetical order like that. Just another weird query. If you want to limit the amount of data that you're going to get to say the first 5 results, just type in limit 5. If you then wanted to get the next 5, you would just come in here where the 5 part is and type in 5 through 10, and there you can see you get the next 5. Now these guys are kind of messy where you see first name and last name, so there's a couple different ways that we can